Hi, I'm Fred. I'm a software engineer working on Android Enterprise. Today, we're going to walk you through the tools you can use to manage apps when deploying Android within your organization, along with some tips and best practices. We will start with a quick overview of app management on Android and how it fits in the wider Android Enterprise ecosystem, and then we'll deep dive on the various features available to you and how you can best use them to address your business needs. And then we'll wrap up by telling you where you can find more information or get help if you need. When your employees start using their mobile devices for work, you want them to quickly access the apps they need so they can be productive right away without having to spend hours searching for apps and configuring them. And Android allows you to do just that. On Android, app management is built in Google Play, which is the app store for Android devices. So you get access to the full Google Play app catalog. You can manage how your users access these apps, and in addition, we've developed additional features that are specific to enterprises. We call this set of tools and features Managed Google Play. It's like Google Play, but managed. A key advantage of Google Play is that it's updated every week on all Android versions. So new features are available on new devices, but also on old devices. And Managed Play and all its features are available on Android 5.0 and above, which means all Android devices sold after 2016 and about 95% of all active devices today. Managed Play is also a requirement for mobility management solutions, also called EMM, for them to be certified Android Enterprise recommended. So if you pick one of these recommended partners, you'll have Managed Play included. As an IT admin, you can find all the app management features directly in the management console of your EMM solution. The management console integrates the Managed Play iframe, which gives you access to several core Managed Play tools and features, as we will see in a minute. As for your end users, so your employees, they can find the apps they need in the Play Store on their devices. It's the same store as on any Android device, except that it's customized with the configuration and policies that you've set in your management console. And finally, there is a third interface in Managed Play, which is a Play console. It's used by developers to publish their apps and to customize how these apps are distributed to organizations. And if your company develops internal apps, then you like to distribute these to your employees, then this is a console you should use to publish these apps. And we will see today how you can make best use of this console. So this was a very quick overview of app management. And now we're going to walk you through the various features available to you and how you can best use them to address your business needs. To do that, let's try to follow the typical journey of an app management across app management tools. First, we'll explore the way you can distribute the three different types of apps by browsing public apps, by publishing private apps, or by creating web apps. Then we'll see how you can test new versions of an app and control how the apps get updated on the device. For that, we'll look into close tests and update controls. And finally, we'll take a look at how you can further customize the experience for your users, customize the in-app experience with managed configurations, or the Play Store experience with store collections. So first, let's look at the three different types of apps that you can distribute on Android. And first, let's start with public apps. Public apps are apps made publicly available by the developer to both enterprise and non-enterprise users. As an IT admin, you can pick any of these apps to make it available to your users and you can configure it. You can do that from your management console with the Managed Play iframe, and I quickly show you how this works. Here I am using the G Suite Management Console, but you will find a similar interface in all management consoles. So this is a page where I can see the list of apps that are configured for my company. I can click the plus button, which will open the Managed Play iframe. The Managed Play iframe looks the same in all management consoles. I have a search bar that I can use to search for any public app. So here, for example, I can search for Google Maps. I see the list of search results. In there, I can select the app I want. Then I see the details about the app, where I can confirm this is the app I'm looking for. I can then select that app. Once I've selected the app, I'm back in the management console, out of the Managed Play iframe, where I can choose how I want to distribute the app. This varies depending on the management consoles, but here in G Suite, I am asked whether I want to distribute the app to all users or just to a specific group. I will choose all users. Then I'm given the option to automatically install the app on my user's devices, which I will choose. I also have other options available that I can change later on. And I save. And now Google Maps is configured for my company and automatically installed on all my users' devices. As you select public apps, just be mindful of the country restrictions. Some developers restrict their apps to some countries, in which case you can always access the app from your management console, but it will only be available to devices located in a country where the developer made the app available, and the device location is determined from its IP address. So you can select some public apps in your management console, and for all the ones you didn't explicitly select, you can choose to make them available or not. You can do that by choosing between the two availability modes of the Play Store. So either make all the public apps available, so your users can install any of them. So this actually works pretty well for most companies. You can configure the few apps you like to automatically install or customize, and then you let users install any of the apps they want. The other option is to restrict availability to the app you've selected. This is for companies with more advanced security needs, and it requires RTadmin to proactively approve any apps user may need. So that was for public apps. Now let's talk about private apps. Private apps are apps that are only available for your organization or for a set of organizations, up to 1,000 organizations. Here, an organization usually represents a company, although this can vary depending on how you set up your management solution. So a private app can be developed by you directly or for you by a third party, and it usually addresses a specific business need of your company. Because these apps are not publicly available to all Android users, we give you more flexibility about what you can do with these apps. The set of play policies your app needs to comply with is reduced. You can, for example, use permissions that are usually not available for public apps, like access to SMS or access to location in the background. Publishing a private app is also simpler. You just need to provide the app and the title. The rest is optional. You don't need to provide things like screenshots, detailed descriptions, content rating. You can if you want, but it's optional. And finally, the publishing time is shorter, thanks to the reduced policy reviews. So it takes minutes to publish the app, often less, instead of hours for public apps. To publish a private app, you have three methods available. You can publish it from the Play console, which works just like you would publish a public app. And then in the console, you can restrict the app to selected organizations. Let's see how that works before we move to the two other methods. So here is the Play console, the console used by developers to publish apps on Google Play. There you can click Create App to create a new app. You can enter a few information about your app, title, set it as a free app, and accept the agreements. Once the app is created, you will need to upload APKs for your app. But before you do that, you can go in Setup Advanced Settings. There you can find the Manage Google Play settings, which you can enable. And there you see the sections where you can configure your app as private. To configure an app as private, you just need to add an organization to restrict it to. An organization is identified by its organization ID, which you can find in your management console. Here is mine. And in addition, you can set a friendly name for your organization so you can remember what the ID refers to. You can then add and save. The app is now restricted to your organization. It's not visible or accessible outside of it. And you can then go to your management console and search for this app using the Manage Play iframe, just like you would do for any public app. And you will then be able to distribute that app to your devices. The second method to publish a private app is to use the Manage Play iframe, which is available directly in your management console. Let's see how that one works. We are back on the App Management Console in G Suite, where you can open the Manage Play iframe again. There, in the same menu, you can choose Private App to access the list of private apps. Here there are no private apps yet. You can click the plus button to create one. There, you need to provide a title and an APK. Then you can click Create to create the private app. Once the private app is created, you can click on it. and then select it. And then you're back on the management console where you can distribute the new private app just like you would do for a public app. Under the hood, the iframe creates a developer account that is linked to the management console, and you can actually access the Play console for that developer account. So if you go back to the iframe and to the private apps you just created, here you can click on the Make Advanced Edits button, which opens the Play console, and where you can use any feature of the Play console, like customizing how the app appears in the Play Store, creating tests, and so on. All that without having to create a developer account. So this is how you publish a private app from the iframe. And lastly, the third method to publish a private app is to use a custom app publishing API. This API allows you to programmatically publish a private app without having to go through the Play console or the iframe. It's particularly useful if you need to publish many private apps at once. For all these three methods, the end result is the same. You'll have a private app restricted to organizations you've selected. There's just one caveat, is that as of today, if you publish a private app through the Play console, you still need to comply with the full set of policies. But we're changing that later this year, so this will match the iframe and the API. We will also enable transfers between methods. So if you publish an app from the iframe, for example, you will be able to transfer it to a developer account that you're using in the Play console. So you will not be stuck with your initial choice of method. Now, you may wonder which method you should use since they all give the same result. Here is our recommendation. If you don't have a developer account, just publish your app from the iframe. It's the simplest and quickest method. You can still create a developer account later on if you need to, and transfer your apps there. If you do already have a developer account and you have apps there, it makes sense to keep your developer account because it gives you access to more features like customizing your developer profile or using the API. And if you plan to publish a large number of private apps or are building your own internal publishing tool, then you will want to use the API. This is just a recommendation, and because you can switch at any time, you can start with any method without worrying too much about this choice. And you can change later on if you find out that another method works best for you. So that was for private apps. Now let's talk about the third type of app you can publish using Manage Play, which is web apps. With web apps, you don't need to upload an APK like for public or private app. Google generates the app for you. You just need to provide a URL, a title, and an icon. And you will be able to distribute and manage this app just like any native Android app. The web app renders the website of the URL you've provided. For example, here on the right, we've created a web app that points to the Twitter website. And you can see that it offers a nice user experience, very similar to the native app, even though it's just a website. You can also choose between 3 display modes, which control whether the device status bar and the navigation buttons are visible. And to create a web app, you just need to visit the Manage Play iframe. Let's see how that works. Let's open the Manage Play iframe again. This time, select Web Apps. Click the plus button to create a new web app. Here, you need to enter the title of the web app as you want it to appear on the device on screen. The URL of the web app. We'll use this URL as an example. Then you can select the display mode of the web app. Full screen means no controls are visible. The website takes the entire screen. Standalone shows the status bar and navigation buttons, which looks and feels like a native app. And Minimal UI shows in addition the URL bar and the web navigation buttons, which looks more like a web browser. In this example, let's choose Standalone. And finally, you need to add an icon, which will be displayed on the device home screen. You can then click Create. Once the web app is created, you can click on it and select it. And you can then distribute it and configure it in the management console, just like any other public or private app. When this web app is installed on the device, this is how it looks like. The web app shows on the device on screen with the title and icon that you set. You can tap on the icon to open the web app, which opens the website. The web app is in standalone mode. In the recent app screen, it shows as a standalone app. So for the user, it really feels like a native app. You can tap on link and browse the website. And if you exit the website, The URL bar will show to let you know that you're no longer on the original website of the web app. With web apps, you can explore a wide range of usage. First, if there are some websites, internal or external, that your users use often, you can use web apps to create shortcuts to these websites directly on the device home screen. This way, they will be easily accessible to your users. More than that, with web apps, you can develop an app that looks and feels just like a native Android app, but without having to write any native code. You can just develop your app as a website, and you just need to make sure that it's responsive and follows the standards of progressive web apps. The web apps will offer a great experience to users to the point that they may not even realize that it's a website. And this app will also work just fine on other platforms, so you just need to implement it once. You can even go further by locking the device on the web app and restricting the URLs it can access using Chrome managed configurations. By doing that, you will have set up a web app kiosk that you can use, for example, in a retail store to serve customers. And it's quite simple to deploy. If you already have a website, it will just take you a few minutes to set up a fleet of hundreds of thousands of Android devices as web app kiosks. So that was the three types of apps you can distribute on Android: public app, private apps, and web apps. Now, once you've distributed your app, you will need to update it. And Manage Play comes with useful tool to test new version of an app and then deploy the update to your devices at the pace that works best for you. To test the new version of an app, you need to control which devices receive that new version, and for that you can use the close test tools of Google Play. Here is how it works. Each app by default has a production version, and all users get this version by default. But in addition to this production version, the developer of an app can create one or multiple closed tests and assign non-production version of the app to these tests. The developer can then make these tests available to organizations so that IT admins can go in the management console and configure which devices should receive which tests. So it's effectively up to the developer to decide which versions are available for an organization, and then up to the IT admin to decide the mapping between versions and devices. Let's quickly see how you can create closed tests in the Play console. We're back on the Play console with the private app that we created earlier. To create a closed test, you can go in Test, Public, Closed Testing. Click on Create Track, give a name to the test. Once the test is created, in the Release tab, you can assign versions to this test. And in the Tester tab, you can choose who can receive this test. In particular, you can add organizations that can receive the test. This is similar to when you add organizations to restrict a private app. You use an organization ID and optionally a friendly name. Once this is done, you should see the test available in your management console where you can assign it to devices. Now, as a developer, you want to consider how to structure the closed tests for your app. The system is flexible, so you can structure tests however you want, but here are two common ways to organize closed tests, and we recommend that you use one of these. The first approach is to create fixed tests that represent stability levels. So for example, from a least to most stable test, you can have alpha, beta, canary, and then of course production. You can communicate the specification of these levels to IT admins. For example, how frequently the app is updated, what bugs to expect, and then IT admin can decide which devices should receive which test. Then over time, you can assign new versions to this test, and so a specific version will move gradually from alpha to betas and canary, and finally production. With this approach, it's the developer who is in control of the update. The IT admin doesn't have to control the updates, but at the same time, they don't need to worry about it besides the initial test device mapping. The second approach is to create one test per version. So every time a new version is available, the developer creates a new test for it, names it after the version, and then makes it available to organizations. It's then up to the IT admin to decide which devices receives which version. With this approach, it's the IT admin who is in control of updates. It's particularly useful when part of an organization or different organizations wants to update the new version at their own pace. At the same time, it's also more work for IT admins because they need to trigger each update manually. doesn't happen automatically. So depending on your constraints as a developer or as an IT admin, you should go with the approach that works best for you. For private apps, developers and IT admin are often the same people, or at least work closely together, so it's easy for them to set up closed tests. However, for public apps, it's more complex. Often, the IT admin doesn't have a direct contact with the developer. So if you are an IT admin and you are relying on a public app for a critical part of your business, then we recommend that you reach out to the app developer so they set up tests for their app. And these tests may also be useful to other organizations than yourself. Once a new version is available for a device, it still needs to be installed on the device itself. And Manage Play allows IT admins to control how this happens. By default, Manage Play is optimized for minimizing user disturbance and data consumption and maximizing battery life. So new versions are installed when the device is connected Wi-Fi, charging, and not actively used. This behavior works well for most apps and most companies. However, in some cases, you may want the update to happen sooner or to not happen at all. This is why later this year, we're introducing two new update modes that you will be able to select from your management console. The first new mode is the high priority mode. So the app is updated as soon as possible when a new version is available. This means the update can use cellular data and can also disturb the user if the user is actively using the app when it's updated. However, it gives you confidence that all the devices in your fleet run the latest available version of the app. The second new mode is the postpone mode. With the postpone mode, the app is not updated automatically. This is useful if you'd like to test the new version of a public app in case the developer has not set up closed tests, or if you'd like to ensure a period of stability across your fleet with no updates for critical apps that your business relies on. The postpone mode has only effect for a maximum of 90 days, after which the app is updated automatically with the default behavior. These update modes, you can set them per app and per device, and you can also change them at any time. So this gives you full flexibility for controlling updates. So that covered testing and updating apps. Now let's see how you can further improve the experience for your users by customizing the apps or customizing the Play Store. First, you can customize apps using Manage Configurations. Manage Configurations allows you to pre-configure the behavior of apps so your users don't need to do it. This improves the experience for them. The way it works is that the developers of the app exposes a set of configurable properties, and then the IT admin can set these properties from their management console. That when the user opens the app, the behavior of the app is already customized according to the values set by the IT admin. You can have, for example, properties where the values is the same for all the devices in the company, but you can also have properties where the value should be different for every user. It really depends on what the property controls. Let's take a look at how you can set manage configurations from the management console. We are back in the G Suite App Management Console. The Chrome browser is an app that supports manage configuration, so let's go and set a configuration for it. In the setting page for the app, you can go in the Manage Configuration section. There you can create a new configuration. Here you see all the properties exposed by a Chrome browser. There are many. Let's just set two of these. First, let's disable incognito mode. And then let's set manage bookmarks to make it easier to access websites. Here the value for manage bookmarks should be a JSON string representing bookmarks with their URLs and titles. I prepare one beforehand, so I will just pass it here. Once you set all the value you want, you can just set a name for the configuration and then save. Then you should assign this configuration to devices. I will skip that part and instead directly show you how the end results look like on the device. On this device, I have assigned the same manage configuration for Chrome as the one we've just created. I have done that from the management console without making any change on the device itself. Now, if you open Chrome, you can see that the configuration is already applied. Incognito mode is unavailable, and under bookmarks, you can see the manage bookmarks that we've set earlier. Like Chrome, many apps already support manage configurations, so I encourage you to look into it because this may allow you to improve the experience for your users. Note that manage configurations can be applied to both public and private apps. So if you are a private app developer, you should consider exporting managed configurations because this will make it easier to deploy your apps and make it easier for your users to adopt it. In addition to customizing apps, you can also customize the Play Store, which makes it easier for you users to find the apps they need. You can create folders of apps, also called collections, to organize apps that users may want to install. These collections will appear on the Play Store homepage, so users can quickly access them and browse the apps they contain. It's particularly useful if there are many apps users may need, but you don't want to automatically install all of them on the device, because this will take too much time during setup or use too much cellular data. But with collections, you don't automatically install all these apps, but they still remain accessible to users when they need by visiting the Play Store. To create collections, just add once again to the Manage Play iframe in your management console. Let's see how that works. Let's open the Manage Play iframe again. This time, let's select Organize Apps. Here, you can already see 3 collections that I created before. You can create additional collections by clicking on the Create a Collection button, or you can edit the existing ones. For now, let's just add an additional app to this collection that I name Communications. When adding an app, you can choose among all the apps that you've ever configured in your management console. Here, let's select Slack and confirm. Slack is now in the collection, so we can save. And now let's see the result on the device. If you open the Play Store, you see the collections that you've created in the management console, and you can explore them to find the app you need. As an IT admin, you can add up to 500 apps per collection, so this allows you to organize a large number of apps. With that, we've covered the typical app management journey. That starts with browsing and publishing an app, then testing it and updating it, and optionally customize the experience. You've seen that for all these tasks, ManagePlay has powerful tools for you. And with the recommendation we shared today, you should now know how to make the best use of these tools to address your business needs. If you'd like to learn more about app management on Android, or if you need help, here are some resources you can use. You can explore the Android Enterprise Help Center, which contains detailed articles about the tools we covered today and much more. And next to the Help Center, you can access the Android Enterprise Help Community, which is a forum open to anyone to discuss Android Enterprise and ask questions whether it's about app management or any other topic related to using Android in a work environment. That's all for today for app management. Thank you very much for listening.